Hi, I'm Mark Small of Civil Discourse Now for August 8th, 2022. On this date in 1988, Wrigley Field was supposed to have its first night game. It was rained out. Um, I was one of the staunch supporters of day baseball. I lived 7 blocks south of Wrigley. It was a beautiful time. We had a wonderful apartment there. But things move on. We evolve. When I was a kid, I've said this before on different podcasts, I was scared to death of polio. Polio put kids in these iron tubes, iron lungs. They couldn't do much except exist in them. Polio struck people down, crippled them. And people took the vaccine. And the question, polio was eradicated in the United States until last month or so. My mother was diagnosed in 1921, 1922 with tuberculosis. She was a little kid. And the doctor told my grandmother, who was a fireman on the Monon Railroad, and so is making really decent money for that time. Indiana was in a depression from right after World War I to right on the steps of World War II. The doc told my grandfather, Frank, buy a farm and surround the house with clover. My grandfather did. There was no cure for tuberculosis. I mean, it was a killer. Richard Nixon talked about his mother worked with people who had tuberculosis. They were called lungers. If you've ever seen Tombstone, Johnny Ringo calls Doc Holliday a lunger. It was very serious, and it killed a lot of people. When we had the ability to get vaccinated for TB, my mother made sure I got that at school. It wasn't a question. And now, how is it that we have people saying, don't take the vaccine? Can't take the vaccine, don't do it. How does that happen? We're seeing a resurgence of things that were gone. And I'm sorry, you can't blame people who support science and say you should get the vaccines. It's people saying, don't take the vaccine, that's terrible. And half of them die later. Oh, that's real good info that they've got. Where was it that the people who were kind of passing science classes and stuff, all of a sudden they're saying, well, we got a chance to say things about this, and we think that this should be the policy of the country. Only they're listening to people that want to sell dog food and, more importantly, wanting to sell their own political candidacies. If you look at what the Republican Party, disclaimer, I am the Republican nominee for Indiana House District 86 this fall. I won the primary. I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-environment. I'm pro-science. I'm anti-gun. I'm sure as hell anti-Trump. How is it that we're sitting here looking at elections where people say, well, we need to stop vaccines. We need to stop doing these things. And the Republican Party, Congress, has stopped things. Let's look at an example. One example is, as much as they bitched about Obamacare, and I thought it was a halfway solution towards Medicare for all. I mean, we're 37th in the world. I just want to make a point on this. See, when I ran for U.S. House in the Republican primary, the only time that I was really allowed on TV when other candidates were there, I said, well, you're all talking about how bad socialism is in medicine. We're 37th in the world. The 36 countries ahead of us, 34 have socialized medicine. The other two have kind of variations, but you'd think that they'd all be, free market. No, they're not. And the two that were ahead of us weren't that far. Healthcare is heavily intensive in terms of capital. And so you don't just kind of like say, well, let the free market decide. You don't do that. So, when I was writing, I was asking those things about why people aren't supporting what other people are doing in healthcare. And when you look at what the Republicans are doing, as far as proposing anything and has to do with Obamacare, they had the first 2 years. The idiot that was in the White House from 2017 to 2021, the Oval Office, the guy that was paid by Russia, Trump, had 4 years, or he had 2 years. First 2 years, he had Congress on his side. He goes, well, come up with something. They didn't. Give me a solution. No, they didn't. All they did, and I think the American president, Michael Douglas's character says, all they want to do is make you scared of it and blame somebody for it. And that's it. We haven't seen any solutions from the Republican Party. Oh, we'll get something. We'll have something down the road. No, they won't. This iteration of the Republican Party is not interested in any kind of plans or solutions. They want power. Once they get it, you're screwed. That's it. In the meantime, do you have your vaccines? I hope you do. I get mine. I've gotten several for the COVID. I keep hoping for the one that will give me the 4-hour erection. I mean, I'm at that point in life, it'd be kind of fun. By the way, I'm not supported by Leavenworth Penitentiary. This was just a shirt that I bought in the airport, Kansas City. Went out there for a baseball game one time. Want to make sure everybody knew that. Still Discourse Now, Mark Small. We'll be back whenever. Just kind of enjoy doing this once in a while, coming up with these little spots. Peace, love, happiness, freedom, nano, nano. May the force be with you always. Have a good one.